to do, whatever it is you have for me to do, I want to be able to do it and not have to overthink everything, not have to over analyze it, and then think myself out of the blessings that you have for me. Analyze my way past what it is that you have in store for me. And because I've overthought, because I've overanalyzed, I've then kept myself in lack, or I've kept myself in the place called just enough. When you want to bring me to a place, as the Bible refers to it, David went into a place called Lodabar, right? Meaning more than enough, right? That's where God has for us to be. He wants to call us into a place of more than enough, right? I've got to get us, to a place to where we say, all right, now I have the tools that are necessary for me to stop thinking myself out of these things, for me to stop talking myself out of these things, right? So I want us to first go and look at where we were on Monday. Monday we were in Jeremiah chapter 17. And I want us to back up because we were at verse number 7, but I want us to look at verse number 6. And I'm going to give you just a couple of scriptures, all right, a couple of places where we'll be here on today. All right, we'll be in Jeremiah 17 verses 6 and 7. Matter of fact, we'll do 5, 6, 7, and 8. All right. And matter of fact, I'll tell you what, let's add 9 and 10 in there too. We'll deal with that. Then I want us to also add in James chapter 1. All right, that's James chapter 1. And we'll be, I'm thinking around verse number 11 and 12. I know for sure we'll deal with 12. But let me see if we're gonna go into 11 on today. We may have to save that for another day. All right. Okay. So now let us go to where we were, like I said, on Monday, Jeremiah chapter 17. Jeremiah chapter 17. And we're talking about fear and fighting fear. And I told you last week that fear, it starts with just a seed. That's all the enemy has to do when it comes to fear, is just plant a seed. It's just as if, I've got this little paper bowl here, right? My same little paper bowl from the other day. So I've got this paper bowl, and let's just say this is how simple it is for, or how easy rather it is for the devil to distract you, to deter you, just by planting a seed. All right. Let's say I have this bowl, right? It's one of those paper bowls, don't cost, but $1 for a whole pack, right? And with this bowl, right? If I were to take a needle, a pin, right? A sewing pin, you know, and I just would to punch a hole, just one hole in the bottom of this, and then I fill this bowl up with some water, or I fill it up with milk, or I fill it up with whatever type of liquid, right? What would begin to happen is at first that water would just leak real slow out of this bowl, but then as the fibers of this bowl begin to absorb more and more water, what we would begin to see happen is that that hole would get larger and larger, and then sooner rather than later, or sooner or later rather, the water would just begin to flow out and fall out of this bowl. Now, I say all that to say it's the same way in your mind. All the devil does is just poke a tiny little hole, right? And the Lord shows you a vision. The Lord tells you thing is in alignment. And then what happens? What happens? What happens? Let me tell you exactly what happens. This is what happens. Then you start thinking, oh Lord, but what about this? Where the money gonna come from? How I'm going to, like, that's what we start doing. And I can tell you that's what we do because I have done it myself. You start thinking about the, ooh, if people, what are people gonna say? And that's one of the, That's it. That's one of the worst traps. Well, what the folks gonna say? Why does it matter, right? Why does it matter what other people will say? What does it matter what other people will think? What does it matter? The, what why do we do that to ourselves? I'll tell you why. It's because that is the tactic, that is the trick of the enemy, is that the enemy just does something. He does something. He plants a seed that gets you to a place to where you have just an inkling of doubt. But that's why we were in Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 7. It says, "Blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord and whose hope is in the Lord. For he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, which spreads out its roots by the river, and it will not fear," right? When heat comes, but its leaves will be green. Uh-huh. Yeah. So when the heat comes, it's not worried because it's got more than enough, right? It's being sustained not because it trusts in itself, and it will not be anxious in the year of and 10 on this in just a second. And I'm going to show you how 9 and 10 plays a major part in us having or yeah, in us allowing rather fear to take a part in our lives. But I want you to see this because I'm trying to has dominion or control over you. So, verse number 5 says, "Thus says the Lord." Now here's the thing. The Lord is speaking all the way from verse number 5 to even verse number 7 and 8 that we just read. But I had to show you. I had to show you things because I needed you to see the blessings that come with trusting God. Now, let me show you what you've been dealing with. Let me show you what has been a part of your life for quite some time now. Let me show you what, and I can say this because I know it's been a part of my life for a little while now. But here's what it is. Verse number 5, the Lord, "Cursed is the man who trusts in man and makes his flesh his strength." So first off, he's showing us and he's telling us here, he's saying, listen, you don't need to put any faith in yourself. You don't need to put any trust or faith in your own strength, not by power, not by strength, says the Lord, but by my spirit, right? Now, if I've already showed you, right, as we looked at, that blessed is the man who trusts in the Lord, then now you're starting to see that the man who trusts in himself, the man who makes his own strength, his own, oh, I can do this all on my own. I'm going to get this done. There's a curse that follows that. What does the Bible tell us? That pride comes before the fall. Now, what does this have to do with fear? See, here's the thing. Oftentimes, oftentimes, God will give us a vision. He'll give us a dream. He'll give us an assignment, right? He'll tell us what it is that we are to be doing, and that dream will be too large. I say too large. It's seems larger than what we're able to handle. It seems bigger than what we're able to do. But can I just tell you, can I submit for you on today that the dream that God has put in you, the thing that God has shown you, it really isn't as big as you're making it out to be, but it's just God size. It's just right for God to show up. It's just right for God to show out in your life, right? When God called David to the position of being a king and anointed him to be king, David was still just a shepherd over some sheep out in the field. But God understood that if you could manage this small thing over here, then you can manage this big thing on the other side. And I want to take a time just to encourage you on today. The thing may look bigger than what you're capable of. It may look bigger than where you currently are, but God will keep you if you can learn how to just trust him and not in yourself. So then, look, we already read about how if you trust in God, you'll be like a tree planted beside the rivers of waters, right? Now, I want you to see what happens when you put your faith, your trust, your hope in yourself, in your job, right? We talked about the fear of losing the provision and not trusting the provider, right? Let me show you this. We're in chapter 17 of Jeremiah, verse 6. For he shall be like a shrub in the desert and shall not see when good comes, but shall inhabit the parched places in the wilderness, in a salt land which is not inhabited. I want you to see and understand. See, that's what begins to happen. The more you take your trust and your hope away from God, is that everything else, it seems like stuff don't work out. And I just said it earlier, you find yourself continuing to live in lack while God is trying to put you in a place of more than enough. So, so he tells us that we've got to learn how to trust in God, right? Then, right, we already read verses 7 and 8. Now look at verse number 9. It tells you that the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? I, the Lord, search the heart. I test the mind, even to give every man according to his ways, according to the fruit of his doings. Friends, I need to encourage you. God is the Bible tells us his eyes are searching to and fro throughout the earth, seeking whom he can show himself strong to. Now, with such being the case, here it is. God is letting us know that he's searching the heart. He's searching the mind. He's testing the mind, right? And he wants to provide. He wants to bless. He wants to keep you. He wants to show you that he is a God strong and mighty. But you've got to get into a place where you say, God, I trust you more than I trust man, more than I trust my boss, more than I trust my bank account. God, I trust you. I trust the vision that you've set in my life. I trust the vision that you've placed over me. And God, I will do it. So as we begin to look at the tools that are necessary to fight the tactics that the enemy uses to block us from the blessings that God has for us, the first thing that we've got to do is we've got to remember that it's not because of us. It's not because of us. All these things that have happened in our lives, all the things that are going to happen for us, all that God, it's not because of us. How does Second Corinthians chapter 4, it tells us, right? It says that the excellency may be the power of God and not of us, right? So I need you to know and understand that if you can get to a place to where your hope, your trust is in God. You cast out fear, you cast out doubting, you cast out all of that, and you just say, Lord, I trust you. You gave me the vision, you gave me the plan. I trust you. I know that you're gonna make it happen. I'm just gonna put in the work. Just remember, I said it before, and I need to reiterate it. Faith without works, it's dead, meaning it has no power. So if God has given you that vision, then I need you to put some work behind it. It's great that God gives us vision. It's great that you have the vision. It's great that you have the faith. But where is your works? He says, "Show me your faith by your works," right? And by your works, then I can see your faith. I'm gonna close with this, and we're gonna get to some of the other tools that we have to fight fear. But I want to close with this. One of the things that I used to always, get caught up in when it came to doing math in school is I could work out the problem, I could find the solution, but the problem was when they would say, "Now show me your work," and I'd be like, "I don't feel like doing all of that." And many of us are just like me when it came to math. When it comes to the things of God, we get a little bit lazy, if you will. And we get into this place to where we like, Lord, I mean, you know I trust you. Why you just can't do it? We don't want to show the works with it. I've got to encourage you. If you don't put forth any action, if you don't put forth any work behind the thing that God has shown you, you can believe for it all day. You can trust God for it all day. But if you don't put forth any action, and you say, well, brother preacher, what do you mean by action? It all is relative to what it is that God has called you to. It's all relative to what it is that God has called for you to do. You know, the works is different according to the dream. He told Abraham, he said, listen, I need you to get from around your people, and I'm going to make you a father of many nations, and I will need you to obey me. All right. This is when he was still Abram. And Abram he said, Lord, I trust you. I know you're able to do it. So he said, all right, well, then go. And that's how it's got to be. See, for Abraham, it was that he went. And that's why I love Hebrews, right? When you begin to read it, it said, by faith, Abraham did it. And it gives you a whole list rather, of folks who by faith did this. And it shows you that what the works was and what the result of it was. So I need you to know, yeah, it's great that we have faith. But then there's also got to be works. And that is how we fight the enemy. Every time he puts in that fear and tells you you can't do it, you put in the work with your faith and say, yes, I can. Yes, I will. Yes, I shall. If you're not going to stop me, you're not going to block me. I may have to do it on a small scale. I may not be fully ready to enter into the palace yet, but I'm going to manage these sheep that God has placed me under me rather. I'm going to manage these sheep to the very best of my ability. And I'm going to make sure that if a lion comes, I kill the lion. If a bear comes, I'm going to kill the bear. And when I go, even though I'm not supposed to be the king just yet, when I go and I see Goliath and he is calling down against the name down on my God, that I'm going to defeat Goliath as well and chop that devil's head off as well. So you've got to put the works with the faith. David wasn't a king yet, but he was doing kingly things. He was anointed for the kingship. He was anointed for the position of king, but he still, right, wasn't in that position. But he still did kingly things. When it came down to defending the armies of his God and the name of his God, he said, oh yeah, I got this. That's what kings do. And that's what God is calling for us to do, is to show our faith, to have faith, and then behind that faith, put some works into it. Put some works into it. Friends, we didn't even get a chance to get into James on today, and I didn't even get a chance to take us to Philippians chapter 4. But don't worry, don't worry. We're going to be right back in this thing on tomorrow, and I've got to show you the tools that are available to us, right? So that we can fight the enemy. So right now, we know we've got faith and works, and the more we exercise our faith with our works, the more we're able to crush the devil's head every time he tells us that we can't do it, every time he tells and just begin to do it. Just begin to say, God, I trust you in the midst of it all, right? Through it all, I've learned. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to play real quick. Let me pull that up. I want to play this song for you. It's entitled Through It All. I've learned to trust in Jesus, all right? I've learned to trust in God. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I want to play that all. I want to play it here on I Am Encouraged Radio here on 93.5 KPPM King Power Praise Music and ShabakRadio.com. So here is Andre Crouch with Through It All right here on I Am Encouraged Radio.